Hello, this is Michael Silva. In this episode, we are going to talk about selling to government agencies. Government agencies are major purchasers of security consulting services. Nearly every type of security consultant will have the opportunity at some point to sell services to a government agencies. And some consultants will do all or a major part of their business with government agencies. The term government agency, as I use it in this video, refers to city, county, and state governments, as well as semi-governmental entities such as school districts, libraries, hospital districts, housing authorities, public utilities, and many other such agencies operated for the public good. Government agencies also include the federal government and all of its branches, but within this video I will not provide specific details on working with the federal government. Consultants who desire more information on this topic are urged to contact the General Services Administration, GSA, and the Small Business Administration, SBA. Both of these organizations offer extensive resources to people who wish to sell to the federal government. There are considerable differences between doing business with a government agency and doing business with a corporation or privately owned company. Within this video, I will explain some of these differences and provide some guidelines for successfully working with government agencies. Most government agencies are supported directly through taxes paid by taxpayers or indirectly through license fees, surcharges, fines, and other charges imposed on the public. When government agencies spend money on products or services, they are spending the public's money. As a result, there are specific laws on how these products and services must be procured. The specific laws on government agency procurement vary from agency to agency, but most revolve around the following basic principles. First, the procurement process must be fair and accessible to all qualified providers of products and services. Second, all qualified suppliers must be given an equal opportunity to compete. Arbitrary selections of suppliers by the agency cannot be made. Third, the procurement process must be transparent to the public. Fourth, preferential treatment may be given to groups that have been historically excluded or underrepresented based on race, gender, economic circumstances, and other factors. Fifth, reasonable prices shall be paid for products and services. The agency has the right to determine how the supplier arrives at their prices and may place limits on the level of profit that the supplier can make. Government agencies must follow a specific set of guidelines when procuring products and services. These guidelines establish different rules depending on the amount of money being spent. For example, a government agency might allow the spending of up to $5,000 without following any type of formal process. If the amount is between $5,000 and $15,000, the agency must get in formal proposals or quotes from 3 suppliers, and the supplier with the lowest cost must be chosen. There is no requirement to publicly advertise this type of procurement to the public. If the amount is $15,000 and up, the agency must use a formal RFP process and publicly advertise the opportunity. This RFP process was described in detail in episode 45 of this series. While some security consulting projects may be small enough that they will not require a formal RFP, most will. So security consultants who will want to work for government agencies should expect to go through the RF process in order to get the work. When responding to an RFP, the process for preparing a proposal, as discussed in episode number 48, should be followed. However, there are likely to be some special requirements. These include: Number 1, price justification. Most government agencies want to see a detailed breakdown of your pricing within your proposal. You usually must break down each project into a series of tasks and provide an estimate of the hours that each task will take. Many agencies will not allow you to arbitrarily set your hourly rate. You must justify it using a formula that specifies your cost of labor, overhead, and profit. In most cases, a limit is set on the percentage of overhead and profit that the consultant can charge. The formula rarely produces a rounded number, and you are expected to charge the exact amount, not a penny more or a penny less. On one government project that I did in the past, my billing rate was $101.52 per hour. Because these formulas often result in an hourly rate well below what consultants normally charge, many consultants working on government projects choose to pad their estimates of how long it takes to complete each task in order to make up the difference. Although this practice seems to be widely accepted in government contracting, I personally feel that this type of misrepresentation is unethical. When using a subcontractor, you must indicate in your proposal the actual fee being paid to the subcontractor plus the markup that you are adding to this amount. Like with overhead and profit, there is often a specified limit on the percentage of markup on subcontractors that can be charged. Number 2, expense limits. Most government agencies place strict limits on the types of expenses that they will reimburse and the maximum amounts that can be spent on certain items. The limits placed on travel expenses can be particularly restrictive, often requiring that the consultant pay certain expenses out of their own pocket if they want to travel comfortably. Number 3, MWBE requirements. Most government agencies encourage the participation of minority business enterprise, MBE, women business enterprise, WBE, and small business enterprise, SBE firms in all contracts that they award. Within this video, I will be calling these requirements MWBE requirements. In some cases, a certain percentage of MWBE participation is required. For example, on a $100,000 contract, the agency may require that at least 15% of the contract, or $15,000, be awarded to MWBE firms. In order for a proposal to be considered responsive, it must show how the proposer intends to meet this requirement. In other cases, the use of MWBE firms is voluntary, but is rewarded during the proposal evaluation phase. For example, the agency may set a target goal for MWBE participation at 20% of the contract value. Proposers who meet the 20% participation goal are awarded 30 additional points. Proposers who only achieve 10% participation would receive 15 additional points, and proposers who had 0% participation would receive no additional points. Security consultants who are themselves MWBE firms could obviously meet MWBE requirements provided that they were properly registered. Registration typically takes place at the state level, but some local government agencies have a registration process as well. Consultants who qualify to register are urged to do so as early as possible so that everything is in place when they prepare their proposals. Security consultants who are not MWBE firms will need to hire an MWBE subcontractor in order to meet mandatory participation requirements or to be awarded additional points for voluntary participation. It should be noted that many of the larger security consulting firms and architectural and engineering firms are always on the lookout for qualified MWBE firms to allow them to meet their participation requirements. Smaller security consulting firms who are MWBE firms can often do a substantial amount of work just helping larger firms meet these requirements. The status of MWBE programs can shift with the political winds. Some states that once required MWBE participation now ban the use of these types of programs entirely. Number 4, pass-through requirements. Many state and local government agencies finance projects using money that they receive from federal government grants. In most cases, along with this money comes the stipulation that all contractors working on the project must meet federal requirements in addition to any requirements that the agency itself imposes. This can have an effect on fees, expenses, wages, reporting requirements, and many other things. When submitting a proposal on a project that is federally funded, make sure that you fully understand what, if any, federal requirements may apply. Often a reference to a law will be made in the RFP, such as, contractors shall comply with Section 503 of the U.S. Department of Labor Rehabilitation Act, but no specific details are provided. It is up to you to research the law to see what impact it may have on your work. One question often asked is, can I sell proactively to government agencies or respond to requests from government agencies that have not yet issued an RFP? Security consultants can make sales calls to government agencies just like they do to any other type of prospective client. In many cases, an agency needs to be educated on the benefits of using an independent security consultant or needs help in finding specific types of security consulting services. Consultants are encouraged to respond to marketing inquiries that they receive from government agencies and proactively call upon agencies within their marketing area that may need their services. However, before investing too much time in working with an agency, consultants need to remember that the procurement laws that agencies must follow are always lingering in the background. It is not uncommon for an agency to call a consultant and ask for help with a security consulting project. The consultant eagerly responds, assuming that they have an excellent chance of being hired. The consultant spends a lot of time meeting with the client and touring their facilities, and then prepares a proposal that includes a detailed scope of work. A few weeks later, the consultant hears back from the agency saying that the cost of the project is beyond their discretionary purchasing authority and that they must issue a formal RFP. When the consultant receives the RFP, they see that much of the scope of work within the RFP has been directly copied from their proposal that they submitted to the client. They attend the pre-proposal conference and see that there are dozens of other firms in attendance. At the conclusion of the RFP process, the project is awarded to another firm. The original consultant is heartbroken and angry that they spent so much time working with the agency and have nothing to show for it. The bottom line is this: fully understand a government agency's procurement policies before you start working with them. When providing information and an assistance to an agency prior to the issuance of an RFP, understand that this is no guarantee that you will receive work for them or receive preferential treatment during any upcoming RFP process.